Um, First item of business today is consideration of the minutes from the February 26, 2024 meeting. There's no additions or corrections. We'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from February the 26th,
All right,
2024.
second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. First, next up, we have our presentation from Ms. Brittany Thomas, BJCTA. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Councilor Tate, Councilor Quinn. How you doing? We just wanted to come, and I brought Mr. Tavares Foster. He's the Director of Customer Experience at BJCTA. So, on May 20th of this year, we will be implementing some route changes, and we just wanted to bring that before the Transportation Committee to show where they are. So, the route that we have is Route 20, which was initially called the airport. And so now we're going to give it a new name of the 20 Kingston is what it will be. So the changes will be that it will no longer go to the airport, but we're basically going to connect it to the East Transit Center. So basically it's just going to go from Central Station, continue through the same community of Kingston, but it's going to end at the East Transit Center. And the reason for doing that is because we wanted to increase the connectivity of it all. So right now it just has one transit hub, which is Central Station, which means that the customers would have to go all the way back to Central Station before they could even go. Let's say they want to catch the 25, so they would have to go all the way back to Central Station. So with the new connection to the East Transit Center, this allows them to be able to catch the 25, the 17, as well as have that connection point to the Birmingham On Demand East daytime zone, which if they had an appointment at St. Vincent's East, it would allow them to get there and to reduce their travel and out of direction travel. And so I provided a presentation of just what those changes were.
Yeah, so what I'm looking at in the slide deck that you provided is that the primary difference is that instead of going into the airport, the bus service would now go to that East Transit Center, and then there would be a creation of a airport microtransit zone that would serve the airport and also the East Transit Center. So the idea is that folks could take microtransit from the airport to the East Transit Center and then be able to transfer to the bus to get to Central Station or?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And also they will be able to travel just within that zone. So it's very possible that, for example, let's just say they lived in over there in the Kingston housing community, and they wanted to go to Piggly Wiggly that currently sits on that's on 65th Street in Eastlake. Because it's in that zone, they can just go straight to Piggly Wiggly. They don't have to utilize the bus. So what we wanted to do is just increase the options of if you want to connect to the fixed route, which will further take you downtown, but if you just want to move within your neighborhood or several neighborhoods, it'll give you that option to do so, all at the price of $1.50. Yeah.
And that's on the via demand, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, so BJCTA would be operating this microtransit service,
Yes.
right?
Yes, sir.
And would it use the same platform as Birmingham On Demand, the current?
It will be a different platform than Birmingham On Demand, but that's all a part of the integrated mobile app that Director Shaw has mentioned that's coming. So it'll all be under one platform.
Yeah, so what's the proposed timeline for implementation of this change?
So for that particular timeline, that hasn't been disclosed, so I'm unaware right now with that particular timeline, but I do know that they're currently in the process of looking for that vendor to be able to bring that project to fruition.
Right, but I'm talking about the change, the route change.
Oh, the route change, I'm sorry, that'll go into effect on May 20th of this year.
Okay, and it's my understanding that, well, at least based on past experience, when these route changes have been proposed, that there's a public engagement process that happens, so that's gonna happen over the next few weeks.
Yes. So I have Trey. He can speak more to that. So he'll be over the customer service experience, and he's been partnering with our marketing team for the strategies to put that information out.
Good afternoon. Yes, Councilor Quinn, as you were stating, we do want to make sure that our customers are well aware of the changes that are coming about. And so we have a lot of things that we have scheduled to make sure our customers are informed. So we do have our currently scheduled community meetings are on, the first one is April the 19th, and it will be at our Matt's Intermodal facility at 10 o'clock a.m. Then we have one on April 25th, which will be at the Matt's Intermodal building at 5:30 p.m. We have another one on on May 8th at the Woodland Transit Center at 10 o'clock a.m. And then we have May 15th at the Woodland Transit Center at 5:30 p.m. So even on top of that, we were meeting this morning, the customer experience and the marketing team were meeting this morning, and we want to make sure we do all that we can to make sure our customers are informed and even understand how to use this service. So we were looking at some other things that we're going to do, like we call it like the Matt's University, where you can come in on, we'll have like 2 dates before the changes, and then even after the changes, we will keep this going to where we will, make sure you understand how to utilize the app, how to make sure you have a good understanding of the changes. We'll be getting on the buses even before these changes happen. So our customer care team will actually ride the route of the 20 and be on the bus just to make sure all of those customers are informed. And when they come into the transit center and when the Route 20 actually comes into the central station, we'll have people there at Central Station also sharing those changes, as well as we have social media, and we'll also have our website. So we're looking at ways to continue to make sure our customers are well informed and that we can answer all of the questions that they have.
So the information in the slide deck says that under the current configuration, there's low productivity. Do you have any numbers on ridership under the current configuration? What does that look like?
Yes. So in that particular area, so we looked over the time frame of January 2020 all the way up until December 2023. And so what we saw for the popular stop that's on that particular route, such as the Birmingham International Airport, they averaged about 9 riders a day. And going on in the Kingston community, they're looking at 6 to 7 riders per day, which is very low. And so what we wanted to do, we wanted to see how could we make better efficiency of the time, and how can we continue to move our customers in an efficient way. And microtransit was one of the things that came up that we saw we could implement and supplement instead of just taking it away. We can do both, because again, we want to continue to give the options of being able to move our customers around.
So my question is this, is that, given such low ridership numbers, the proposal is to just change the route. So basically the terminus would be in a different location, but the route would still remain. Right. So you would still be going from Central City, essentially through Kingston, and going over to Woodlawn. I'm just wondering if ridership is going to significantly improve. What the question I'm getting at is, why not eliminate the route altogether if ridership is that low?
Well, we wanted to first be careful without taking the route away altogether, and just still give the people a chance to still have the fixed route, even though that's what they're used to. But we just didn't want to just do it so abruptly. But we wanted to make sure that with the implementation of this microtransit zone, it actually speaks to your point that because the productivity is low, then we can safely remove the fixed route bus from the route and just make it only microtransit.
Okay, so this is more of like a phased approach.
Right.
Yeah, okay, I got you. Other questions?
I
Councilor
have
Tate.
I wrote down some notes, like the time, the dates of the meetings, and I know you guys said Max University social media on a website. What about those individuals who don't use social media or website? Have you guys thought about sending them out a mailer to like all of the homes, in Jefferson County?
Would you like to speak to that?
Yeah. I can check into the mailer. We haven't really sending a mailer into those areas. But one thing, and I actually wrote it down because I forgot to say, is going to that Kingston community meeting. Those meetings in those neighborhoods that these routes are affected by. I actually have this morning have an updated list of like the neighborhood officers so that we can reach out to those officers in those areas, and we will come to the neighborhood meetings. I know Woodlawn's having like a street market, and we talked about reaching out to them and seeing if we can come and pass out information there. So we're looking at how we can even do a more grassroots effort, because there are a lot of people, like you stated, especially our seniors, who may not use social media. So that is one of the things. Those are some of the things that our team we're looking at, is how do we reach out to those who may not be on social media, who don't go on Facebook every day. So we are looking at those things, and right now we felt like the community meetings may be a big way to do it, because I think about even my aunts, great aunts and grandmothers, they're going to go to those community meetings. They may not know anything about Twitter and all, but they'll go and they're connected more over with their neighborhood partners.
And the reason I'm making these suggestions is because I think that's where, a lot of the departments miss that comms piece, because everybody thinks, people are on social media. And,
Right.
You got to look at the intersectionality of, the generations. You got an older population, you got a younger population,
Right.
you got people that love social media. So we always have to keep in mind, how do we engage those that are not on social media, making sure that the information is properly distributed, into the neighborhoods. Even us, we willing to help. So I would say, can you guys get us some flyers about these dates, so we can push them out in our neighborhood meeting, because everybody's not coming to neighborhood meetings.
Right.
And so that's something we often hear, like people feel left out because the information is not getting to them. Or they say, we didn't know, or we have libraries, in our districts. And I would just say, if y'all can make us up a nice little cute flyer, I would be glad to, get it out to the neighborhoods and our news you can use. And I'm sure my colleagues, would be willing to do that as well. But I would love to see you guys do a mailer to make sure that information is distributed across, so people can't say, I didn't know. Just killing that stigma of, we didn't know.
Yeah.
That's just a suggestion to you all.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Councilor Woods.
Thank you, Mr. President. Wanted to see if y'all can give me some more insight on this chart, popular Route 20 bus stops, to make sure I understand what these categories are. So I got stop, but if you could talk about APC boards and average, and kind of what that is in reference to.
Yes, so through our CAT AVL system, we're able to count how many people ride the bus per day. And so looking at Route 20, these were their most popular stops. So of course, Central Station is always going to be number one, because that's where the people are feeding into. And so as you can see, it gets about 67 people per day is for the average. And then the next stop is also downtown, which is the 3rd and 19th. And it's a little lower, but it's around 4. And then the airport gets about 9. So those are what those stops are pointing to as far as the total boards from January 20 to 2023. And then the side is just what that breaks down to average per day for those
Okay,
bus
so
stops.
APC boards represents total for this time period?
Yes.
Okay.
It's APC stands for Automated People Counter, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And that number is represented from, you said January 2020 to current?
to December 2023.
Right, okay, so over,
So it breaks down to 1,195 service days.
right. Got it.
How does this, I guess just almost a side question, but how does this kind of relate to other routes? You're saying about 67 people take this route a day. How does that kind of relate to other routes? And then do you think that would increase with more opportunity to kind of connect at the, was that Eastern Station?
In regards to the Eastern, so with 3 routes currently serving the East Transit Center, and like I said, we just really wanted to cut the out of direction travel for a lot of the citizens that live in that area, because to travel 30 to 40 minutes just back to downtown is a lot to ask for, especially when you're trying to navigate. But if you have a route that will connect you to a transit hub that's within 10 to 15 minutes from where you live, then you're able to move a lot more. So our hypothesis is that you can catch a transit hub on either side. So instead of having to come inbound, you don't have to. You can continue outbound to a transit hub, and you can connect with the BRT, which is the most frequent bus that we have, because it runs 15 minutes on peak time and it's 30 minutes non-peak time, which right now is just pretty more frequent than what we have as compared to routes that may be 45 minutes or an hour. So we do believe that the ridership will go up because the people are able to utilize the system a lot more.
All right, well, I'm all for a good, well thought out hypothesis. Sounds like Charlotte's putting a nice team together over there.
Yeah. I mean, my only question is like, assuming that this change is implemented, what's the analysis period between when you start making the decision to just remove Route 20 altogether?
So there's 3 signs up a year. So this one follows suits with the May sign up that our operators have to basically pick new assignments. And so the next sign up would be October of this year. So we would have a pretty good time limit to see if we need to continue with having a hybrid system of a fixed route and microtransit. And it will also let us know if it can just strictly go to microtransit. So I believe by October, we'll be able to have that out definitely of what we need to do.
Okay. Yeah. It's a significant amount, investment for three to 9 riders, on
Yes,
any average day. All right. Yep. Go ahead.
I'm curious to, I see the numbers, so I'm curious to know, have y'all kind of analyzed why the riders are so low, during these times? Or is it just that people don't utilize the services?
So we've noticed that it's a myriad of things. We noticed that, the population has changed within that time, within that particular area. We noticed that there's not a lot of employment opportunities in that particular area, which was the other point that we wanted to try to include with this particular route change. We noticed that there aren't any hospitals in that area or any urgent cares. It's just pretty, you have a few schools, but with this connectivity, we're looking to add at least 4 hospitals that the citizens will have access to, and that's St. Vincent's East, UAB Hospital, UAB Urgent Care that they will have access to now. Grocery stores, there aren't any main grocery stores in the Kingston community. You have to pretty much come all the way downtown just to go to a grocery store, and that's not how it should be.
Exactly.
We should be able to make it accessibility more. So being able to connect to Piggly Wiggly in Eastlake. Even going to a Walmart, having a choice of which Walmart you want to go to. Do you want to go to Eastwood Walmart? And you even have the option to go to Roebuck Walmart now.
Okay.
Just give a little bit more choice to the people.
So this will all be incorporated in this change?
Yes, ma'am.
That they can go to like the option, because that was gonna be my next question. you know, about the grocery store, so you clarified that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. And are you guys looking for, the committee to, I mean, is this something that, you know, we need to make a recommendation on, or?
Would
we-
we
or we
like an
just-
endorsement?
this
We
is
would
more-
love an endorsement from the committee that they've heard what the changes will be and that they feel that this would benefit their constituents going forward to provide more access through transportation.
Yeah. I think this is the first opportunity that we've, you know, had to have information presented about this, so, you know, I would want to hear from our constituents. I mean, I have a feeling that with such low ridership and such low utilization, that it's not going to be a, you know, significant issue for these changes to be implemented. In any case, you know, I think it may be premature to make a recommendation, so,
Yes, sir.
all right, well, thank you.
No problem. Thank you all.
Appreciate it. All right, next up, we have Colin Alexander, who's gonna talk to us about, the Chrissy project.
Good afternoon, committee. Colin Alexander, I serve as senior planner with the Birmingham Department of Transportation. As you recall, last year, we were awarded a CRISI grant from the Federal Railroad Administration to work on essentially a pre-construction grant on the east side corridor of the Norfolk Southern Main Line between Woodlawn and Trussville, identifying locations to close crossings, build an underpass, build an overpass, and add some track siding in and out of Norris Yard. Typically, right now we're in the pre-obligation phase of that, so we're working through the grant agreement with the FRA in order to get to where we can have the funds to start work. Typically, in that process, the council signs off on a resolution for us to apply for and receive the grants. And under that resolution, the mayor is entitled to execute all agreements leading up to obligation, right? And then we come back and do an ordinance with the council. With the FRA, there's a slight variant in that is because the FRA basically regulates private property. And so we have to have, an addition to the funding agreement, which we're working through with FRA, we have to have a separate agreement with Norfolk Southern, with all three parties involved, so with Birmingham, Trussville, and Norfolk Southern, allowing us to do the work within Norfolk Southern's right-of-way. So what's before you is that agreement. It's separate, and because it's a third party and not directly with the FRA, it's not under that resolution that would typically allow the mayor to execute these agreements. But we have to get it executed by FRA in order to obligate the funds. So we're just bringing it before you guys to go ahead and get it to council to execute that agreement.
As it relates to the project, is, Norfolk Southern, I mean, the project in terms of design and engineering or, P&E, planning and engineering, that has to go out to be bid, right?
Yeah, we're gonna be going through an RFQ process as we go through this procurement process, but this is just this is one step in that process. We're not there for the RFQ yet. Norfolk Southern's gonna be an active partner through the whole process with us. But since we are the awardee from the federal government, and Norfolk Southern's not the awardee, we have to have this agreement in order to allow us to do the work within Norfolk Southern right away.
Okay. And you're saying that the previous resolution that we did giving authorization to the mayor
It's
to.
only for between the grantee and the grantor. And so that agreement, those paperwork that we can do without coming back to council is only for documents between us and the FRA.
Okay,
But in order to obligate the funds, we have to have this additional agreement.
right. So it's essentially the same thing that we did before, just adding
That,
Norfolk Southern.
yeah, it's the same scope, nothing's changing, it's just that we have to have an additional third-party agreement, and that's not in the resolution language.
Gotcha. All right. Seems reasonable. Any additional questions, comments? Yeah, so FYI, we're gonna be applying for Chrissy again in this next cycle, right?
So we need to confirm a couple things. We are pursuing a planning grant on the western side. What the specific funding source is, we're still trying to determine. But yes, we are applying for funding to study rail crossings along the Norfolk Southern Main Line west of 65 between Birmingham and Bessemer.
Okay,
So that's the phase 2 that we promised council when we came forward and said we're starting with the eastern side, but we're going to come back and study the western side. Now we're stepping that up.
got it. It's the pleasure of the committee.
Move for recommendation.
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, so, next up, get back to the agenda. All right, so under new and old business, want the committee to know that for the past couple of months, I've requested, an update on where we are with, follow-up on the changes that we made late last year regarding private paid parking lots and towing operations, and have not. Hey, Elizabeth. Hello. How are you? You're late. Yeah, we just did your thing, so thank you for being with us. Counselor Tate, Elizabeth Lawler, if you guys haven't met in person. Finley Roundhouse? That's your point of contact. All right, so back to parking and towing. So I've requested an update from OCA and BDOT to kind of tell us where we are. I actually did a drive around of some of the lots, some of the more notorious locations where people have been towed from, and I did observe in some of the locations that the new signage is up, but not all of the paid lots for sure. So just wanted to let you guys know that I've asked for those updates. In the meantime, you know, there are still getting some reports of folks still having problems, and you know, the news media in particular is continuing to report on the issues. So, and even Representative Patrick Sellers has reached out to me to seek, you know, to find out if there's anything that he can do from the standpoint of the state legislature to address the issue. So I just wanted to provide heads up to you guys that I'm seeking additional information on that. Any other old or new? Director Fowler.
Like fell asleep sitting there. See if I can make it up here. Hi, I'm James Fowler. I serve as the director of the city's Department of Transportation. So while I don't have a detailed update, because Christina Argo, who's managing that for us, she's out of the country this week, but when she gets back, I think we can come back and give some data and numbers on it. Just generally speaking, regarding the private lots and private signage, the majority of the property owners that we've kind of targeted, we knew were problem lots, have at a minimum engaged our department and are working on signage. And so many of them have already installed some of that signage. And so even for the ones where you don't see it out yet, most of those are in the works. And then we're working with OCA to try to understand what our options are for folks that have not engaged our department. So what some next steps for that would be. So when Christina returns, I think we'll be able to give you guys an update on that. But for the most part, we've gotten pretty good engagement from the private property owners and wanting to comply with the regulations. We are past the effective date that we set, but they're at least seem to be making an honest effort to try to get the signs out there. So we're trying to work with them.
Okay. Do you have any information on the towing operators in terms of their compliance? I mean, I saw a picture of one of the tow trucks for a company that's often involved in these, and noticed that they've increased the contrast on the required markings on the side of the vehicle. So that's good. But there was a recently reported story of an individual being towed and them, still requiring, he produced proof of payment, and they still required the full balance of their towing fee, where the ordinance says that they can only charge the half amount. So sounds like there still needs some work that needs to be done there.
Yeah, so I can't comment on any specific case, because anytime somebody brings up an example of a case, even if it comes up in the media, it's really helpful to get into the exact details of exactly what happened. Because oftentimes when something is presented as something even in the media, oftentimes when you really dig into the details, there's still something that was maybe done in error or some sort of mistake that was made. So I can't comment on that one just because I don't know the details of it. But I will say that the company that you're referring to, they have been, to their credit, have been engaged with our office in trying to be compliant. And so they've had a lot of dialogue with us. So not saying that they're doing everything right and are perfect, but they've certainly been visible and engaged. So.
Okay. Has there been any dialogue that's happening between your department and Park Mobile regarding this issue?
I need to let Christina respond to that when she gets back. Yeah, I don't want to.
Okay,
I don't want to assume.
that's fine. All right. Appreciate you offering some insight on that. We'll look forward to Ms. Argo giving an update. Any other new or old business we need to cover?
I'll skip a meeting on speed cushions, so we'll catch them next time.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.